is essentially a continuation, but a focus on the actual cam. Now that we have the placebo foundation, let's now talk about cam. This is an interactive. So Sarah, here you go. This is an interactive class because I want to hear from you. Many of you did say on Monday, that you liked that you have engaged in some cam, either for you or your parents. So we'll definitely explore all of that. But I wanted to end with a thing with the placebos, which you didn't get to, which is, should doctors prescribe placebos? Okay. And so this is an ethical question, of course, because doctors are supposed to do no harm. It's part of their Hippocratic oath, right? So if you're prescribing a placebo and it doesn't work, are you harming your patient? That's an extremely important ethical question. So on Monday, we explored all of the ways in which the placebo effect occurs, and all of the ways that it is strengthened and influenced, and you know, as long as you modify people's expectations for whatever treatment you're giving, you can reasonably expect them to get better. But there are certain ailments out there, there are certain diseases and illnesses that just won't get better from placebos, right? Autoimmune diseases are unaffected by placebos. Intractable progressive diseases that are like Huntington's or Parkinson's aren't helped by placebos, right? Because these have really demonstrable physical effects that manifest rather quickly, and need targeted therapeutic treatments to reduce the symptoms. So this doesn't work for everything, but it's still an ethical question, and it's an interesting ethical question. If you were to take a medical ethics class, if you don't talk about this question, then I think your professor's doing it wrong, because this is one of the most important things about medical ethics, right? Because placebos are cheap. They're cheap. They're safe. If it's a placebo and it doesn't cause harm, right? Because we can talk about nocebos, but if it's a placebo, it's not going to cause any harm, unless somebody's lactose intolerant and they're just popping lactose pills over and over and over again. But again, it requires the doctor to be a certain kind of person, right? Warm, attentive, and confident in the treatment, whether or not the patient knows that it's a placebo or not, right? It might work more for psychological disorders than for physical disorders that I laid out there, okay? Because expectations and beliefs can help as the cognitive portion of this, okay? So the idea is, do we do it? Yes or no? I'm okay as an ethical, as somebody who handles ethical questions every year, as being the IRB chair. I'm actually okay with placebos being administered for treatments. Not every treatment, but most treatments. If it can treat you successfully without the need for further, poking and prodding, then why not? Why not, right? Why not? We give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Guess what? We haven't really broached the point of no return, because then we can just put you on regular treatment. And obviously your treatment is up to you, if you are conscious and able enough to make your own decisions, of course. There are other aspects of that where you wouldn't be able to make your own treatments, or your own decisions for treatment, but it's still a thing. Okay. Now, switching gears to Cam. It's an interesting point. So, why is this not going? Oh no. Hang on, y'all. I'm gonna switch to this because I need to switch some views here. Because I need to no, it's open. Bummer. Hang on. We're getting there. I'm gonna log into this thing. Good old pull everywhere. Really pissing me off. Okay. You gonna load? Activate. Activate. There we go. Alright, to address Sarah's point. This only works if you are unaware that you're receiving the placebo. So, obviously consent is important, yes. But, this should be a blanket approval. So it should be in the form of, I understand my doctor participates in placebo treatments, and I agree to be a part of a randomized placebo treatment if my doctor deems that my condition can support it or something like that. So you don't know at any given time that you are taking a placebo, because if you do, then it's not going to work. If you immediately know that you have been given a sugar pill, it's not going to do anything. So it's a good point, Sarah. It's definitely a good point. So do this, y'all. Do this. Because I'm curious now, switching gears here. Is it working for people, or are we? Is there a massive delay here? Hope not. So we've got, it's not active. Let me see if I can do it from here. Nope. Oh, activate. Yeah, activate. There we go. There we go. Hooray! Stupid pull everywhere. There it is. It's activated. Alright, so chiropractic. So this is, which method would you be most interested in trying for reducing pain? Chiropractic or chiropractic? Acupuncture? Dietary supplements? Hypnosis? Or biofeedback? Alright, so it looks like chiropractic is win this race here. Somebody said hypnosis. I like it. Okay, so dietary supplements. So that's broad now for pain, reducing pain. Dietary supplements. That's very, very broad. So we'll see, right? Like, what could that mean? What could that mean? Okay. I think chiropractic is, and let me know in chat if you have actually received, chiropractic treatment for pain or alignment, etc., etc. All right, so let's jump into Kim. Now this is a significantly shorter lecture than it could be, just because if I speak too long about it, if I talk too long about it, I end up getting in trouble, because I am quite skeptical about this stuff. So I don't want to annoy anybody or offend them. So this is significantly shorter. So CAM, the A and M stand for alternative medicine. C was added recently and it stands for complementary. Okay, and the reason why complementary was added was because it's what people would do if they were adding it as a treatment to traditional medicine, which is what we would consider Western medicine. So whatever the medicine that you've grown up with here in the United States or abroad in Western Europe, in other English-speaking countries like Australia, New Zealand, that's all Western medicine. So that is considered traditional medicine. Now, it is obviously egocentric and ethnocentric to consider that traditional medicine, because I'm sure there are plenty of folks in China who would, and we're talking billions, who would argue that their medicine is traditional and that Western medicine is alternative medicine. So, obviously an ethnocentric viewpoint here for what is traditional, what is alternative. And alternative represents a broad range of therapeutic approaches and philosophies that are generally defined as healthcare practices that are not widely taught in medical schools, okay? Not generally used in hospitals and not generally reimbursed by insurance companies, okay? So anything that isn't taught widely in medical schools, used in hospitals, or reimbursed by insurance, although some of those things are changing in the United States. Obviously, that's a United States thing with, insurance companies, mostly. Anything that fits those three criteria, it will be classified as an alternative medical practice, okay, or an alternative medical therapy. And one of the features of alternative medicine is a holistic medicinal approach. So not only do you treat physical and the mental, but you also include the emotional and spiritual needs of any client. And the language here is very important. So instead of patient, which is typically a medicinal word in traditional medicine, if you are seeking treatment, then you are a patient. In CAM, you are a client. Okay, so physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs as the holistic approach. Okay. Oh yeah, here's the complementary term. Okay. And so it's any alternative medicine practice that is used with traditional medicine. Okay. Whereas alternative medicine is instead of, right? It's the alternative. But that became more of a pejorative term, and so holistic practitioners who would use alternative medicinal therapies or other alternative therapies said, you know what? People are going to the regular doctor as much as they're coming to me, so this is complementary, not alternative. And I'm not the other thing. In the last 20 years, though, with the rise of the internet, especially in the last 10 years, with the rise of the internet and the ubiquity of the internet, that has maybe fallen by the wayside just a smudge. So we have various domains that you can explore. So one of the domains is alternative medical systems. Okay, so that is anything that we would classify as Eastern medicine. Okay, from East Asia, like Chinese medicine, for example, would be an alternative medical system. Okay, any medical systems that is used by non-technological tribes, like uncontacted tribes in the heart of the Amazon or in the islands of the Pacific, like Papua New Guinea or something like that. So these are medical systems that are the dominant medical system in another culture. Okay. Mind-body interventions. So these are things like meditation, although meditation's being slowly accepted into traditional medicine, if it hasn't been already. There are some meditative techniques that are still not accepted in traditional medicine. So some medical or meditation techniques that are done by, Buddhist monks out in the Himalayas, for example. They do some gnarly stuff with their meditation. And then hypnosis. This has never been, and probably never will be, accepted as traditional medicine, even though it's used for quite a bit in psychotherapy. Generally speaking, there are specialists that will perform hypnosis treatment, and so a random clinical psychologist will be like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to hypnotize somebody. So it takes, obviously, some specialized training, and a penchant for being suggestible, of course. Biologically based therapies, so these are the supplements. Okay, dieting or herbal supplements. This is huge. This is a huge business in the United States. So you've got your GNC, your General Nutrition Company, or whatever GNC stands for. You've got your Vitamin Shoppe. And then you've got, so those are the two big ones, right? And then you've got just, pharmacies will, drugstores will carry them, like Walgreens, CVS, will carry tons and tons of supplements on their shelves. And then, you can go order any of this stuff online. So those are dieting or herbal supplements. Each of these supplements requires the is in the United States, requires the thing, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So it is a required phrase on anything that is considered a supplement. Okay? So if they make any claim whatsoever, it has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, because guess what? I'll tell you what. Many of these things in those stores, if they were evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, the claims that are made by these companies that produce these supplements, they likely wouldn't pan out. They would be no better than placebos. I'm not saying all natural treatments are bunk. I'm not saying that, because as I mentioned on Monday, aspirin comes from willow tree bark. Okay. That was huge, right? Penicillin is a fungus. It's alive. It's a fungus. Kills bacteria. So, not everything that's natural is bad or isn't going to help you. Ginger actually does reduce nausea in your stomach. It does. It's just, it's a weak antiemetic. So I mean, it's useful. Coke can take off the rust stains from your toilet. It's just natural thing. I'm sorry. The last one's not. I mean, it's real, but it's not going in your body. But imagine what it does to the insides of your body, right, Katie? So, those dieting supplements. Of course, there are issues with dieting supplements, like Ephedra. You may have heard of Ephedra. When did S hit the fan with Ephedra? I think maybe you haven't heard about Ephedra. Maybe it's been 20 years since all of that. So, Ephedra was a metabolic stimulant. It was supposed to increase your metabolism, so you would lose weight because you maintained your same caloric intake, and you would take Ephedra, and so your metabolism would increase and burn off those calories much quicker than like needing to exercise and stuff. Well, Ephedra was like creating massive heart issues in people. The makers of Ephedra were sued, and they were told like, your supplement is killing people. So yeah, Ephedra had to be taken off the shelves because it became a health risk. And that sort of thing. Vitamin supplement. Yeah, so vitamins do fit that category, Courtney, because they're technically dietary supplements. Vitamins are, because all of the vitamins that you would get that you would need or you would actually get in those vitamins are found in other foods, right? So your B's can be found, your B vitamins can be found in like things like bananas. Your vitamin C can be found in things that contain citric acid, because that's what vitamin C is. Your vitamin A can be found in, or beta carotene can be found in things like carrots, right? Your iron can be found in spinach. Magnesium can be found in other things, obviously. Salt can be found in pretty much anything. Your potassium can be found in bananas. So if you take a vitamin, you can take like fish oil and stuff like that. Just eat fish, right? Gross. No. But yeah, so they would be considered dietary supplements. Yeah. They potentially do stuff vitamins do. Our body needs some of this stuff for things, right? We need iron for hemoglobin. We need magnesium and calcium for our bones. We need vitamin D for our bones. But good thing is our skin converts sunlight to vitamin D, which is amazing. So, yeah, these things do stuff. So they would be part of the naturalness of it. Manipulative or body-based therapies. Chiropractic, which is the name of the practice. So you may have never actually seen that before, but that's chiropractic. So that's what your chiropractor does. Here's what I'll say about chiropractic. Okay. It is good insofar as body manipulation. That is specifically your joints and your spine and all of that stuff. Especially if you have like spine pain or joint pain. Yes, if your chiropractor is doing other things for which they were not trained, that's when you stop. Okay? That's when you stop, because they actually don't have that training for like biological issues, sleeping issues. They're essentially just following a natural medicine kind of procedure, but they don't have the training in that. Their training in chiropractic is body manipulation. That's it. If you're seeing a chiropractor that tells you to do this, that, and the other thing with some of your other ailments, no. They don't have the credentials for that. They don't have the training for that. And I will fight any chiropractor who disagrees with me. I will fight him. Fight him with words. Massage therapy. Many people don't actually realize that this is a cam. This is cam. Massaging is cam. It feels great, and I want to have one, but it is cam. It is definitely cam. Again, if your massage therapist is telling you about this, that, and the other thing, stop. The only thing that they should be doing for you is making your muscles feel better. Okay? No, they don't get the training to tell you how to, not be constipated. Well, it has to do with your bowel movements. No shite. And then here we have energy therapy. Energy therapy. So Qigong, just in case you were wondering, QI is pronounced Qi. Qi in the anglicized way. Magnet therapies. There's no evidence. This could be, you could also throw in chakras here too, so aligning your chakras and that sort of stuff. How many of you align your chakras? Do stuff to align your chakras. Magnet therapy. There is literally no evidence that magnets do anything for your body. So if you've ever heard of those copper like sleeves that have like copper in them, or bracelets that have magnets in them, they do absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And yet there are some people who do them and think they do them and well, right? All right, so I have a message for I have a Tim Minchin message for everyone. So we're gonna do these next couple of slides in the next 10 minutes, so I can play this clip for you all before you have to run off to your next class. Okay, so there are 3 ideals of CAM. The first one is that medicine should be all natural, all natural. Think of Goop. Goop. Don't listen to Goop at all. Please don't watch Goop Lab on Netflix. Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't need more of your money. Please don't watch it. Please don't. It'll make me sad if you do. You know, every time you watch the Goop Lab on Netflix, an angel gets smacked by God, stripped of their wings. Do you really want that to happen? I hope not. So the idea behind this is, like, there's too many synthetic things out there. We should, human created. So we should just use things that are found in nature, because science is too artificial and it's making us sicker and it's making us worse and all of that stuff, right? That's the back to nature phenomenon. Somebody, I think it may have been Gwyneth Paltrow or some naturalist was like, nothing natural can be bad for you, and then obviously the memes are showing like tornadoes and hurricanes and dinosaurs and hippopotami who are, killing people. Nothing natural is bad for you, right? So that's nothing, and this is a creed of anti-vaxxers, because the things that they think are in vaccines are like aborted fetuses and there's too much mercury and stuff like that, when clearly that is not the case. That is 100% not the case. There are no aborted fetuses in vaccines, and even if there were, they're natural. So I don't know what your problem with it's not an artificial natural argument that you're making with aborted fetuses. In any case, that is one of the arguments. This is one of the major arguments with anti-vaxxers, right? Go have measles parties, because that's how you get exposed to the virus, and that's how you develop immunity to the virus. I have a better idea. Just go get a damn vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella. Oh, there you go. Drops in vaccinations because of this movement, this anti-vaxxer movement. And you may have seen the internet in the last 10 years or so. If you want to know what anti-vaxxers say, then there's a Facebook group called Things Anti-Vaxxers Say. And it's a facepalmer. It's a facepalmer. Okay. The second ideal of CAM is that medicine should be holistic. And I've already mentioned this already. So the criticism they have toward traditional medicine is that biomedical philosophies are physical ailments. So they treat physical ailments. They say, you know what? We're only going to treat the physical ailment. So, screw your mind, screw your emotions, and screw your spiritualities. And so that's the criticism. Whether it's a good criticism or not, that is one of their major things for this ideal. Okay. Patch Adams is actually, so if you may have seen this movie with Robin Williams, he's a very important view. Even though he was a doctor, he was very critical of doctors in the 1950s. And so he has this famous quote, which is said in the movie: treat the disease and you win or lose, treat the person and you win every time. The real Patch Adams said this, and then Robin Williams delivered this line amazingly. If you haven't seen Patch Adams and you need a good cry, I think you can do that one. Okay? I think you can do that one. The third ideal of CAM is promoting wellness. So the idea, and there's nothing wrong with this idea on its face. And so the criticism goes that the biomedical model focuses on treating disease. We're not treating wellness. I think this criticism is getting kind of tossed on its head. I think the thrust among most therapies and medical practitioners is that we want people to be well as opposed to, not well, so I have a job, right? People are going to come face to face with disease and injury and all of that. So, we'll never not need doctors. But I think overall, the idea is let's be preventative, right? So the Affordable Care Act made preventative medicine free to a certain extent. So, there is good information out there now, and we have a wild Ellie spotting. She's right next to me. Such a goober. So this is from data from 2007. I've tried to find a graph as good as this for... Oh, that butthead just threw my phone on the floor. Such a butthead. I've tried to find a more recent graph that looks like this for CAM usage among adults. You can see that natural products is a pretty decent number, and then it goes all the way down to homeopathy. Do not waste your money on homeopathy. Stop taking zinc, Zicam, so you can stop wasting your money on Zicam. Unless you have a placebo belief about that, then go for it. But the idea behind homeopathy is that water has memory. It does not have memory. It does not have memory. Olaf does not have memory. God. I love Frozen 2, but Olaf. Water does not have memory, and you cannot dilute something with water and think that it'd be effective. That's the whole shtick with homeopathy. So stop with the homeopathic. And thing on their labels have to say this is homeopathic. This is a homeopathic remedy or a homeopathic treatment. If it says that, walk away. But me, I'm homeopathy. No. But wait, I can help you. No. Stop it. Also, things like emergency. Here's the deal with citric acid. You have a set point for how much citric acid your body can handle. Everything else gets peed out. Just drink some orange juice. No emergency needed. No, we don't need to give that person his money. The guy who made it. It wasn't even made by a doctor, y'all. It wasn't even made by a doctor. Alright, so is it effective? Only if you think it is. Only if you think it is. So far, if I were to take the collective outcomes of controlled studies, controlled clinical studies of things like chiropractic, acupuncture, health supplements, energy treatments like magnet therapy, homeopathy, definitely not effective. Then the data suggests they're only as effective as the person who thinks they're effective. Okay? So expectation is very strong here. So just be aware of that. Just be aware of that. Okay? And so if anybody's trying to make a non-traditional medicine claim, guess what? If they want to make that claim, they need to be put to the test. If somebody wants to say, hey, I'm a psychic, I can read your mind or I can predict your future, be like, can you? Can you do that? Let's put that to the test. Nobody has won the James Randi Educational Foundation prize yet. Nobody has won it because nobody has been able to show James Randi in a controlled setting that they can predict the future. $1 million frickin' dollars on the line, and nobody's been able to do that. Well, if you were really a psychic, maybe you should be able to predict the future. So that is, if you want to believe something is true, that's fine. You can believe it's true. If you want to think that it's actually working the same as traditional biomedicine, then that needs to be put to the test. That's my position. So that's my position. The biomedical researcher in me takes this view. I will also give a contrasting view. Okay. Alternative medicine practitioners always say evidence is fine, but minimal confirmatory or convincing evidence is also fine with us. And we all know about confirmation bias. Okay. It doesn't, many of the studies that you'll find here also don't lack the rigor. Okay. Considered poor quality by Western scientists. Poor quality. Okay. Yeah. So let's listen to, I do have to tell you about Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright was a cancer patient who had a few days to live. He heard about a horse drug that might be effective against his cancer, and he begged his doctor to administer it. His doctor reluctantly agreed to give it to him. A few days later, his tumors had disappeared. Okay? However, 2 months later, after his tumors disappeared, Mr. Wright read a medical report describing that the horse drug he was given was actually a quackery of medicine. About a day later, his cancer returned and he died. So, patient's expectancy is by far the number one thing that keeps CAM alive. Okay, and then of course we talked about the placebo effect. Bottom line, evaluate claims of CAM on your own. Do your due diligence in researching these claims. That's my due diligence in teaching you this information. If you want to keep using CAM because you feel that it's helpful to you, by all means continue to do that. We have about a 12-minute video from Tim Minchin that I wanted to share with you. I'm gonna pause the music here so we can listen to the animated version of Storm. Now, it's probably going to take us past 11:50, so for those of you who need to head out, that's fine. I'm recording this, although you can also watch Storm on YouTube, as this is clearly a YouTube video. Okay, and this is my final thought to you all, both as a final thought with the material that we've just talked about the last 2 days, but also a final thought for the course. And Health Psych has been a pleasure, so I want to say this before anybody has to leave. This was a fun class. I hope you enjoyed it. And if I don't see you later today in Sensation and Perception, have a wonderful summer. If you are graduating, good luck with your future endeavors. Stay safe, be well, be kind. Love you all.
Inner North London, top floor flat, all white walls, white carpet, white cat, rice paper partitions, modern art and ambition. The host's a physician, bright bloke, has his own practice, his girlfriend's an actress, an old maid of ours from home, and they're always great fun, so to dinner we've come. The fifth guest is an unknown. The hosts have just thrown us together for a favour, because this girl's just arrived from Australia and she's moved to North London and she's the sister of someone or has some connection. As we make introductions, I'm struck by her beauty. She's irrefutably fair, with dark eyes and dark hair. But as she sits, I admit I'm a little bit wary, because I notice the tip of the wing of a fairy tattooed on that popular area just above the derriere, and when she says, "I'm Sagittarian," I confess a pigeonhole starts to form, and is immediately filled with pigeon when she says her name is Storm. Conversation is initially bright and light-hearted, but it's not long before Storm gets started. "You can't know anything. Knowledge is merely opinion," she opines over her Cabernet Sauvignon vis-a-vis some unhippily empirical comment made by me. Not a good start, I think. We're only on pre-dinner drinks, and across the room my wife widens her eyes, silently begs me, "Be nice." A matrimonial warning not worth ignoring, so I resist the urge to ask Storm whether knowledge is so loose weave of a morning when deciding whether to leave her apartment by the front door or the window on her second floor. The food is delicious, and Storm, whilst avoiding all meat, happily sits and eats as the good doctor, slightly pissedly, holds court on some anachronistic aspect of medical history, when Storm suddenly insists, "But the human body is a mystery. Science just falls in a hole when it tries to explain the nature of the soul." My hostess throws me a glance. She, like my wife, knows there's a chance I'll be off on one of my rare but fun rants, but I shan't. My lips are sealed. I just want to enjoy the meal, and although Storm is starting to get my goat, I have no intention of rocking the boat. Although it's becoming a bit of a wrestle, because like her meteorological namesake, Storm has no such concerns for our vessel. Pharmaceutical companies are the enemy. They promote drug dependency at the cost of the natural remedies that are all our bodies need. They are immoral and driven by greed. Why take drugs when herbs can solve it? Why use chemicals when homeopathic solvents can resolve it? I think it's time we all return to live with natural medical alternatives. And try as I like, a small crack appears in my diplomacy dike. By definition, I begin, alternative medicine, I continue, has either not been proved to work or been proved not to work. Do you know what they call alternative medicine that's been proved to work? Medicine. So you don't believe in any natural remedies? On the contrary, Storm, actually, before I came to tea, I took a remedy derived from the bark of a willow tree, a painkiller that's virtually side-effect free. It's got a weird name. Darling, what was it again? Masprin? Basprin? Oh yes, aspirin, which I paid about $1 for down at the local drugstore. The debate briefly abates as my hosts collect plates, but when they return with desserts, Storm pertly asserts, "Shakespeare said it first. There are more things in heaven and earth than exist in your philosophy. Science is just how we're trained to look at reality. It doesn't explain love or spirituality. How does science explain psychics, auras, the afterlife, the power of prayer?" I'm becoming aware that I'm staring. I'm like a rabbit, suddenly trapped in the blinding headlights of vacuous crap. Maybe it's the Hamlet she just misquaffed, or the 5th glass of wine I just quaffed, but my diplomacy dike groans, and the arsehole held back by its stones can be held back no more. Look, Storm, sorry, I don't mean to bore you, but there's no such thing as an aura. Reading auras is like reading minds, or tea leaves, or star signs, or meridian lines. These people aren't plying a skill. They're either lying or mentally ill. Same goes for people who claim they can hear God's demands, or spiritual healers who think they've got magic hands. By the way, why do we think it's okay for people to pretend they can talk to the dead? Isn't that totally fucked in the head? Lying to some crying woman whose child has died and telling you you're in touch with the other side? I think that's fundamentally sick. Do we need to clarify here that there's no such thing as a psychic? What are we fucking to? Do we actually think that Horton heard a who? Do we still believe that Santa brings us gifts? That Michael Jackson didn't have facelifts? Are we still so stunned by circus tricks that we think the dead would want to talk to pricks like John Edward? Storm, to her credit, despite my derision, keeps firing off cliches with startling precision, like a sniper using bollocks for ammunition. You're so sure of your position, but you're just closed-minded. I think you'll find that your faith in science and tests is just as blind as the faith of any fundamentalist. Wow, that's a good point. Let me think for a bit. Oh, wait, my mistake. That's absolute bullshit. Science adjusts its views based on what's observed. Faith is the denial of observations so that belief can be preserved. If you show me that, say, homeopathy works, then I will change my mind. I will spin on a fucking dime. I'll be as embarrassed as hell, yet I will run through the streets yelling, "It's a miracle! Take physics and bin it. Water has memory, and whilst its memory of a long-lost drop of onion juice seems infinite, it somehow forgets all the poo it's had in it. You show me that it works and how it works, and when I've recovered from the shock, I will take a compass and carve fancy that on the side of my cock." Everyone's just staring now, but I'm pretty pissed and I've dug this far down, so I figure in for a penny, in for a pound. Life is full of mysteries, yeah, but there are answers out there and they won't be found by people sitting around looking serious and saying, "Isn't life mysterious? Let's sit here and hope. Let's call up the fucking Pope. Let's go watch Oprah interview Deepak Chopra." If you want to watch telly, you should watch Scooby-Doo. That show was so cool because every time there was a church with a ghoul or a ghost in a school, they looked beneath the mask. And what was inside? The fucking janitor or the dude who ran the water slide. Because throughout history, every mystery ever solved has turned out to be not magic. Does the idea that there might be knowledge frighten you? Does the idea that one afternoon on Wikipedia might enlighten you frighten you? Does the notion that there might not be a supernatural so blow your hippie noodle that you'd rather just stand in the fog of your inability to Google? Isn't this enough? Just this world? Just this? Beautiful, complex, wonderfully unfathomable natural world? How does it so fail to hold our attention that we have to diminish it with the invention of cheap, man-made myths and monsters? If you're so into your Shakespeare, lend me your ear. To gild refined gold, to paint the lily, to throw perfume on the violet, is just fucking silly. Or something like that. Or what about Satchmo? "I'll see trees of green, red roses too." And fine if you wish to glorify Krishna and Vishnu in a post-colonial, condescending, bottled up and labelled kind of way, then whatever, that's okay. But here's what gives me a hard-on. I am a tiny, insignificant, ignorant bit of carbon. I have one life, and it is short and unimportant. But thanks to recent scientific advances, I get to live twice as long as my great-great-great-great-uncles and aunts. Twice as long to live this life of mine. Twice as long to love this wife of mine. Twice as many years of friends and wine, of sharing curries and getting shitty at good-looking hippies with fairies on their spines and butterflies on their titties. And if, perchance, I have offended, think but this and all is mended. We'd as well be 10 minutes back in time for all the chance you'll change your mind.
That's so good. It's so good. Sorry about the language, but so good and well animated. Well animated. All right. That's it for this stream. I'll be back at 2 for Sensation and Perception. You all have a fantastic lunch.